What?
I'm sorry, my king, but we're out of time.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Marvel What If Season 2, Episode 8 video. There were a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references. It was basically their version of Marvel 1602 from the comics with a bunch of changes. There's so much to unpack here. They could have done an entire season inside the Marvel 1602 universe. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. We will be getting What If Season 3, so I'll talk a little bit about that after the finale. Careful for spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode yet, we'll start at the beginning, work our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs, WTF moments, starting with the episode title, What If the Avengers Assembled in 1602? Based, like I said, on the Marvel 1602 comics written by Neil Gaiman. Originally, that was written to be like an Elseworlds kind of story, like a self-contained one-off kind of thing, but they've since brought the characters back multiple times. They also brought the 1602 characters back during the more modern version of Secret Wars a while ago. We got the live-action version of Avengers 6 Secret Wars coming up, maybe even Avengers 5 too if they turn Secret Wars into a two-part movie now. Maybe we'll see some live-action versions of those 1602 characters, but at the end of this episode, they basically reverse all the changes that happened. So all the Marvel characters that were stuck here in these different roles basically got sent back to the present and got all their memories back. So in reality, inside the MCU, there is no current 1602 universe that is still existing as its own alternate universe. Don't worry, I'll explain that when we get to that part of the episode. The original Marvel 1602 universe was created when Steve Rogers' Captain America is sent back in time, causing a time rift in the year 1602, which causes all the heroes, villains, major Marvel characters from present day to come into existence during that time period. In the original comics, eventually the rift starts to destroy this new 1602 universe. They try to stop it by sending Steve Rogers back through it to its present day. Ultimately, the Watcher is granted a pocket universe in the comics where he's allowed to keep that Marvel 1602 universe alive. They kind of introduced that concept during What If Season 1, where the Watcher traps Infinity, Ultron, and the Killmonger in their own pocket universe that they can't escape from. They start the episode with that Marvel Studios intro, but some special period-specific old-timey music, and the actual opening scene is of Loki performing a Shakespeare play in the Globe Theatre in London. The Globe is a real theater that's still operational in present day, but was around during the time of Shakespeare. It's been featured in a lot of period movies during that era. The whole idea, though, is that during this time period, Shakespeare is alive. So, like, Loki is getting his plays from Shakespeare hot off the presses. Like, oh, I got a fresh new play from Shakespeare here, who he calls Will. Like, my friend Will here is writing plays for me. The one that he's performing here, talking to Yorick the Skull, is Hamlet.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Very famous play. Tom Hiddleston has performed Hamlet in real life. He's performed a lot of Shakespeare's plays in real life, even before he became Loki inside the Marvel Universe during the first Thor movie.
Carcasses of unburied men that do corrupt my heir. I banish you.
The other thing you might have picked up on here too, even if you don't know Hamlet, is the play itself, like as he's reciting the lines here, is meant to be an Easter egg for the Thor movies because Hamlet inspired some of the story of Loki stealing the throne, trying to kill Odin. In this universe, Loki is just a regular prince. The royal family is Thor's family, but it's based on British history, not on Norse mythology. Hela is the sitting queen. Cate Blanchett came back to play her again, and it's a bit of a meta Easter egg because in real life, Cate Blanchett also played Queen Elizabeth I, and 1602 was right around the tail end of her reign when King James was getting ready to ascend the throne after her. Pretty much everyone's costumes in the episode are based on their suits that they wore in the MCU in present day. Some of them have more Easter eggs than others baked into the designs, particularly all the Iron Man Easter eggs. Pretty much all the characters that had powers in the MCU still have their powers in 1602 here, but within universe, everyone believes that they've always lived here, that reality has always been like this, and the only person from the future or another universe is Captain Carter, even though technically Steve Rogers caused the accident with the Time Stone, sending everybody into this sort of alternate reality, this alternate universe. So remember, even though Steve Rogers is meant to be the forerunner, him coming back basically created this whole alternate universe, so none of these characters are supposed to be here. When Captain Carter steals Loki's skull here, he also recites a line from the play Hamlet.
Do you mind if I borrow that?
That's my Yorick.
Thank you!
Poor Yorick.
The other Easter egg here, the verse from Hamlet he's reciting, "Take up arms against a sea of troubles," is meant to be a metaphor for the actual plot of the episode where Captain Carter and the others take up arms to try and save this universe by sending Steve Rogers back to the future, reversing the damage that he caused. They flash the 1602 title card to tell you the time period, and it's in old-timey font. I love that Thor is also too bored to make it through Loki's play. Like, even time displaced in the past, he can't stand play. Like, no, we don't have time for this. I want to go have fun and drink. Pretty much all the Marvel actors came back from the movies to play their characters again, with a few exceptions, like everyone who had somebody else playing their character in previous episodes, like Iron Man, Captain America, Steve Rogers. They came back to play those characters again in this episode. But everyone else came back from the movies to voice their character. We see that Happy Hogan is kind of like the Queen's attendant, maybe like her captain of the guard. Nick Fury is her spy master, because of course he is. Their crowns and the guards' armor are based on Asgardian designs, like their ones in present day, even though technically all their traditions and the references they make are mostly to British history, with a few exceptions. Hela's scepter is based on Loki's scepter from present day, but instead of the Mind Stone in it, it's the Time Stone because of the accident caused by Steve Rogers during his version of Avengers Infinity War when he was fighting Thanos in his present day. We see the first time rift is slowly destroying this universe is sort of like the ripple effects of Steve Rogers' original accident that are going to eventually just consume this entire universe. Hela gets sucked through the rift, basically erasing her from existence in this universe. They reveal Captain Carter was brought to this universe by Scarlet Witch, who they're calling Wanda Merlin, like she's a version of Merlin in this universe. Merlin is an actual character in Marvel Comics. He was from Camelot. Camelot is a real place in the MCU history they referenced during the Eternals movie.
Is that the ebony blade?
Excalibur.
Arthur always did have a crush on you.
So like King Arthur, the King Arthur mythology, all that stuff was real inside the MCU. Scarlet Witch uses her chaos magic to bring Captain Carter here to solve the mystery of the rift and try to stop them. She saves Loki, but fails to save Hela. Thor is then named king. He briefly became king in the MCU. He blames Captain Carter, assuming that she's cursed, because he's kind of thick-headed anime style, like he's super thick in this episode. We see that Happy Hogan is also the Freak in this universe too, the Purple Lions. He's basically like a purple version of the Hulk, the way they play him on the show. Previously, during his Christmas episode, he wondered if he'd be stuck like this forever. Turns out it was a reference to this episode, like, yep, you're definitely going to turn into the Freak again. And it works basically the same way that Hulk logic works, like he has his mind, but there's still rage-based powers, so the minute he gets pissed off, he turns into the Hulk just like Bruce Banner. They use the regular what-if intro, no special changes here. The Watcher ironically calls the events of this universe a Shakespearean tragedy because we just got done watching Loki recite Shakespeare. We see him in the background of the sky watching Captain Carter escaping. They do a bit of a needle drop moment where they reveal that she can actually hear him narrating. Not clear exactly why, maybe because of their interactions during season 1 and what happened and the circumstances that brought her to this universe, like she's just attuned to him. One of the other ironies of the episode, some of you probably spotted this, is that Captain Carter is British, naturally, and this episode takes place in this universe's version of London, and her suit is the Union Jack. It's the British flag. When they were getting ready for season 1, before they'd revealed that they were calling her Captain Carter, I was actually calling her Captain Britain because her suit looked more like Captain Britain's suit. When the Watcher calls her a time-displaced super soldier, that's also a reference to her time-traveling in her first episode, in the original Steve Rogers Captain America getting stuck in the ice first in his universe, then winding up in present day, then also during this universe's version of Avengers Infinity War, time-traveling into the past, so becomes another time-displaced super soldier again and again. And when he says that there are worlds amongst the multiverse destined to die, but every once in a while there's a glimmer of hope, that's a reference to the ending of the original comic book Marvel 1602 universe. They reveal Captain Carter's basically figured out what actually happened in this universe, even though she doesn't know that Steve Rogers is the Forerunner yet. Like, she doesn't know exactly how it happened, she just knows what happened. Basically, the future of this universe collided with the past in this universe, and it all kind of got mixed up together, all because of the accident with the Time Stone. Inside the palace, there's a bunch of Marvel character references. Nick Fury mentions Nebula's observatory. The Isle of Ego is their version of Ego the Living Planet, but like he's just a living island, not a full planet. Then Happy mentions the Groot Groves, like Groot is the winery where they grow their grapes, so must be really tasty Groot-flavored wine. Scarlet Witch is powerful enough to sense that there is a Forerunner, like a time-displaced person, causing all these time rifts, but she doesn't know that it's Steve Rogers yet. She only knows what happened. The pretty bird that Nick Fury is whispering about is a Black Widow reference, but in the episode, he's actually speaking to Captain Carter as they explain he and Scarlet Witch were trying to help her this whole time, knowing that she was really trying to save them all, and Thor was just being super thick, preventing her from doing that. I didn't see actual Black Widow during the 1602 time period, but if you think you spotted her in the background, just point her out in the comments. They go to Iron Man's workshop. We see Tony Stark. He's a ne'er-do-well drunk in this universe. It doesn't seem like he's super rich, but he's got designs for a flight suit, armor suits all around, basically prototypes for old-timey versions of Iron Man suits. He winds up constructing an old-timey briefcase Iron Man armor suit, like a Mark V for Captain Carter, powered by the Time Stone later in the episode, but because it's old-timey, it's more like a chest than an actual briefcase, like a chest suit. There are little Easter eggs all around his shop, so when the camera starts panning around, you look over at the bottom here, you see what looks like an Iron Man Mark I helmet. All the green fragments that they start examining are fragments of the Time Stone that broke off when Steve Rogers' Captain America damaged it in his fight with Thanos in his present-day version of Avengers Infinity War. When she says it's radioactive, that's correct. They give off cosmic radiation, like cosmic background radiation. The Infinity Stones are meant to be made of remnant energy left over from the Big Bang because they are basically the remnants of the previous version of the universe before the Big Bang. You could really get into the weeds on this, like you could do an entire video just explaining the whole cycle of Big Bangs. It's based on real-life scientific theory. But in the Marvel Universe, there's a cycle of Big Bangs where basically you have the Big Bang, the universe is created, or the multiverse is created, it slowly expands and eventually contracts, and you go through another cycle and another Big Bang, and another version of the universe, so the multiverse is born. The Infinity Stones basically contain all the energy of that previous version of the universe, which is why they're so powerful. That background cosmic radiation is also the same energy that Scarlet Witch wields with her chaos magic that was inside the Hex. Like, that's how she created the Hex and everything inside it. One of the other cool Iron Man Easter eggs here, too, is that when Tony Stark creates his chest suit that is powered by the Time Stone, in the Marvel Universe, his arc reactor is powered based on Infinity Stone technology, but it's based on the Tesseract, the Space Stone. Captain Carter makes a Back to the Future movie reference saying flux capacitor. When he's looking for a device to fix everything, Iron Man essentially creates an old-timey Iron Man suit powered by the Time Stone, kind of like an Iron Man flux capacitor, helping send Steve Rogers back to present day. She also kind of gives him the idea to create an arc reactor. He sends her to Steve Rogers, who believes, because of the accident, that he always belonged here and has become this universe's version of Robin Hood called Rogers Hood with his band of merry men. Robbing Prince Loki, who's trying to impress the ladies with his new Shakespeare play that he just learned about. The Iago that he references is from Othello. He's basically telling them about Othello that Will, his friend, quote-unquote William Shakespeare, literally just wrote. Tom Hiddleston has also performed the Othello play on stage when he was younger, before he became Loki. They reveal that Steve Rogers' merry men are Ant-Man and Bucky, basically. Steve Rogers winds up meeting Captain Carter, and because of the accident, like I said, he doesn't know that he's from the future, and at this point in the episode, she doesn't know that he's the Forerunner either. They just have a couple funny moments about their chemistry together, like even though they're from alternate universes, they both are kind of drawn to each other. When he says his maid Margaret died previously, because we're talking about Robin Hood references, his maid Margaret was kind of like the Robin Hood maid Marian. But also it reminds you, Peggy Carter's actual full name is Margaret Carter. Peggy is just what people call her. When they're sharing the drink back at their Robin Hood-esque hideout in the tree houses, sitting by the window is meant to be a reference to their scene back during Season 1 sharing a drink in the pub during World War II. She talks about being in the wrong place at the wrong time being a specialty of hers, like totally normal for her. It's a reference to her time travel accident, also a wink at Steve Rogers being another time-displaced super soldier. Like he literally traveled through time a couple different times because he was stuck in the ice and then the Time Stone sent him back into the past. We find out that Thor's special forces are actually the Yellow Jackets based on the character, but these are a squad of regular soldiers that have just been given Yellow Jacket powers and suits with Pym particles. It's a bit of a reference to that Hydra plot. So like Darren Cross was going to sell the Yellow Jacket suit in Hydra to them for a fortune so that they could create an army of beings like this. Ant-Man calls Happy a freak, a reference to his comic book freak persona and powers. There are a bunch of really cool references and Easter eggs during the actual fight scene too that they kind of bake in here, particularly Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter or Captain Carter using the shield, passing it back and forth between each other. Remember, in this universe, he's never had a vibranium shield in this time period, or he thinks that he hasn't had a vibranium shield because he doesn't know he's from the future. But it is weird how good he is using it without having used it before. Like, oh, wow, you're a natural with this. I wonder why. When Bucky says Barton sends his regards firing the crossbow, they make it sound kind of like Happy Hogan in this universe killed Hawkeye before the events of the episode pick up. So RIP, press F to pay respects to Hawkeye. Then Happy rolls out the Destroyer armor they're using more like their secret weapon. They reveal in this universe, Happy also hates Tony Stark. Like, how dare you suggest that I would ever be friends with him? Captain Carter surrenders and they take her back to the Tower of London, which is a real place. If you haven't been, it's actually pretty cool to visit. They reveal in this reality, Red Skull is their executioner. They don't give him any speaking lines in the episode, but he does get a cool fight scene later. When she starts arguing with the Watcher, they repeat the line, what if, like several times. It's the name of the show. They say the thing inside the thing, like they go full meme.
What if you die?
What if, what if, what if?
He said it! He said it! We learn that Bruce Banner Hulk is in the cell next to hers. The Iron Mask he's wearing is a parody of the Man in the Iron Mask story, but the Iron Mask itself is also designed to look like the Iron Man Mark I helmet. Probably made by Tony Stark in this reality, who sold it to the Crown. When she apologizes to Bruce saying sorry for this is a callback to Black Widow forcing him to transform back in Avengers Age of Ultron, like she pushes him off the cliff. She basically does a version of that, like tricks the guards into forcing him to transform into Hulk form and uses him to escape. And when they're leaping across the sky, you can see the Watcher seeing them in the background. Then Iron Man, still a lousy drunk, gives Bruce Banner a bunch of grain alcohol and reveals his briefcase or his chest version of the Iron Man Mark V suit designed to be powered by the Time Stone. Steve Rogers returns with the shield wearing it on his back like he did with his in present day, even though he doesn't remember present day. When they go to the throne room, the reason why the rift opens there amongst the ceiling is because Steve Rogers is there and he is the focal point. He's the reason for the rifts in the first place. They reveal in this universe, Thor also gave Loki Mjolnir, but Loki lost it like he's useless in this universe. Then we see that Thor is calling his vibranium sword that he got as a gift from this universe's version of Black Panther, the King of Wakanda, the All-Father. I'm assuming that Odin was also the sitting king before Hela took the throne here, but because they're based more on British history, they didn't call this version of Odin the All-Father. It seems like he has all the same powers in this universe, but he's just channeling his lightning through the sword, like the sword itself is not generating the lightning. We finally get a Hulk versus Hulk fight when Bruce Banner fights Happy Hogan, the Freak. The Pipes Are Calling reference is a callback to the song Oh Danny Boy. When Iron Man is breaking out his suit, he references starting an industrial revolution, like in real life, and Captain Carter activates the briefcase armor, and they reveal Steve Rogers is the Forerunner, like he was in the comics, basically, saying their goodbyes before he activates the device for her, sending him back to the present, saving this universe, and basically erasing all these versions of the Marvel characters from existence. When they say in another reality they do get their happy ending, that's just a reference to the ending from Avengers Endgame where he goes back in time to stay with his Peggy Carter. And they reveal once Peggy Carter fixes everything, like all these Marvel characters are erased from existence, she's actually stuck here, but is back to normal, so it's more like it was during actual, real life 1602. We get a real quick tag scene where Supreme Strange portals into the pub in her universe to recruit her to his Multiverse Avengers team, like, just you wait till I tell you what I got ready for you. Whatever that finale is going to wind up being, just like we did with Kahhori at the end of her episode where he showed up to recruit her. We also get a to be continued title card in old-timey font, which we haven't gotten before on the show. Thankfully, we don't have to wait too long to see them actually pay this off and find out what's going on in the actual finale. Episode 9 is going to happen tomorrow, so of course my video will post after they release that. We don't know too much about what's actually going on in the finale. Like, there's a lot of scenes of Thanos attacking them. He has the Infinity Gauntlet. It might be based on the accident that Steve Rogers caused, like the time displacement that he caused with the Time Stone might have also thrown Thanos into another reality, and that might have something to do with all the chaos that's going on. We see a version of Rocket here, a bunch of other characters, so we'll see who the actual new main villain is in the finale. Overall, it was a great episode. It was one of my favorite from this season. They could have done an entire season, like I said, in this Marvel 1602 universe, but there were so many Easter eggs, so many references. If you spotted any in the episode that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. It's one of those episodes you have to watch like 3 or 4 times just to catch everything, even though it's only like 25-30 minutes long. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. My episode 9 video will post tomorrow. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Click here for that video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it. And click here for all my other What If episodes. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.